Good evening to the members of the public, to the members of the Board of Education for joining us this evening, September 1st, 2020, for our first meeting of September, Board of Education meeting heading into the 2020-21 school year. My name is Dave Adderholt, Superintendent of Schools, and I thank you for joining us this evening. And as we start the new school year, I want to just take a moment to recognize some individuals that have worked extraordinarily hard this summer to ensure that we could get to a place of opening. We had 4 subcommittees this summer that have been working on our restart and reentry planning. They were structured around curriculum and instruction, operations and facilities, health and wellness, and governance and oversight. So to Pam Nathan and all of our supervisors, our teachers that joined, I want to say thank you to them and their work, building administration that joined in that work. Just a tremendous lift to get us ready. This past month, we have had literally thousands of trainings sessions done with staff participants. And it was great, a deal to their hard work in putting that all in place through the month of July and early August to get us in position. Operations and facilities, James Earl and Lee McDonald have done a tremendous amount of work with our school counselors and our school nurses that have spent a significant amount of time this summer ensuring that we had processes and protocols in place, PPE acquisitions, protocols, standard operating procedures, literally building process out of nothing long before the Department of Health issued any guidance on August 13th. And really making something out of nothing when it came to the June 26th release of the roadback plan by the Department of Ed. That was our Health and Wellness Committee, excuse me. I said Operations and Facility. Operations and Facilities was led by Dr. Russo on the call. And he had a 7-part team of representatives, everything from food service to transportation to building and grounds and so on and so forth. Again, just a tremendous amount of coordination and purchasing and acquisitions to make sure that we would be ready. Really working hard through the budget process at a time when we did not know until last week what our budget circumstances would be for the entire state. Our technology team, that's unsung heroes that have been with us all the way through COVID, on grounds, through March, all the way through to make sure that families had the devices that they needed, that connectivity was going, that our staff had training, that we stayed with connectivity throughout the district, that all the back-end aspects of tech stayed operational. Just a tremendous credit to Rick Cave, Harry Doctor, Alan Johnson, Russell Ray, and others for the work that they've done. HR with Charity Fuse on the call and Patrick Duncan, and just the tremendous work that they and their teams have done to make sure that our staff's needs were met in times of crisis. Unfortunately, we've had more than one staff member that's experienced tremendous loss and tragedy through COVID, but we've also had staff members with conflicts, concerns from personal health to family concerns as a result of the disjointed nature of this opening. Thanks again to the roadback plan and the ever-changing guidance from our governor. Our Special Services Department that had to do, again, a tremendous lift when guidance didn't come out to the end of June from the Department of Ed regarding extended school year and how to meet students' needs and what testing accommodations could look like, and the work that Karen Slagle and her team has done. A real credit to our staff members, our OT, PT, speech, child study team members that were willing to come in and be sort of some of our first staff on the ground to start with testing and work with families in person. I want to say thank you to our representatives from the WWPEA, it's our education association, who've been with us as representatives on committees, have been with us in planning at food drives. But something special that they really did was they worked with both Pam and James, also with the NJEA, to bring forward a grant to combine grant monies and raise $18,000 worth of books for students and early readers and students in need in ESL. And coupled that with our food service director and program, and they were able to do book drives and pizza nights for families. And again, just a tremendous collaborative effort there. So just special recognition there. And our administrative association, the WWPAA, who spent the better part of July fundraising and purchasing they brought over 250 backpacks worth of school supplies to our last food distribution, giving out backpacks of school supplies to families in need. And again, just a tremendous work by Andrea Bean and Russell Ray and their team, all of our administrators. To Mark Wise and Sue Totaro and the team around New Teacher Orientation, who had to move to a virtual environment. Again, just a tremendous lift on their part, welcoming and creating a new experience for our new staff. To Marcy Baylor and Kathy Muto, our food service team. We are one of 3 districts in a 12-mile radius that have brought forward support for families throughout the summer with food distribution. And Marcy is the one that made that all happen. So it's the best thing that we did all summer was working with families that had needs, and the collaborative effort of our partners throughout the community that came to support us. It's just been very heartwarming, and I want to say thank you to Marcy and Kathy and all the Sodexo workers that came in to support, as well as to our community partners that brought additional meals and additional supplies, resources, and food. And every once in a while, some surprises that came along with it, from gift cards to pizzas for the families to whatnot. Tomorrow, we welcome back members of our staff that are going to be in person this year, and we do have teachers that will both be in virtual assignments as well as in-person assignments. We look forward to welcoming our staff back as we get acclimated to our school environments over the next 2 days, both the 2nd and the 3rd, before we welcome students back on the 8th. So I wanted to just take a couple moments just to go over a couple of just big picture components with respect to some of the plans, some of the procedures for the upcoming. Before I do, I did forget one of my colleagues just directly on the call with HR, and I'd be remiss if I didn't just recognize Patrick Duncan also for his work in supporting charity and the HR team through labor relations. So thank you, Patrick. Parents are going to be looking for schedules. Students are going to be looking for schedules, and I hear some high school students have already figured out how to get them. But the September 2nd, high school and middle school schedules go live after 4 p.m. And then on the 3rd, Thursday the 3rd after 4, the pre-K-5 teacher assignments will come out. Also, just a reminder to those that have selected in-district transportation, remember we do have 11 students per bus due to CDC guidelines, so you're in the 20% cap on school buses. And we will be transporting those transportation information as in Genesis for those families that did not select to opt out of transportation that do have students either in a hybrid 1 or a hybrid 2 schedule. Parents are reminded that they have to complete all mandatory forms before they can get access to the schedules, and you can do those mandatory forms in advance of. And we have about 67% of families that have already completed all the mandatory forms. So thank you for making that a smooth process and completing those. Again, for parents that are going to be sending their children in district, just a reminder that there's a couple things we want to just recognize, and we'll be sending out a newsletter, and principals will reiterate this in their newsletters. But just that every day there's going to, if it's a week in which your child, your student's coming in district, that there is a screening form that needs to be completed on a daily basis. It's one of the requirements of being on grounds, not just from us, but from the roadback plan, is that there's a daily health screening, and parents are going to play a primary role in doing that. Then we also have to make sure that students leave for school with face masks, that they have their face mask with them. That includes on the school bus and on school grounds, not just in the classroom, but anytime they're in the school vehicle or on grounds. And we do encourage students to bring pre-filled water bottles. Just that our water fountains are going to be shut off because it's a high frequency touch point. And so it's a recommendation that water fountains be turned off and bagged. We'll probably not bag them at first, but we will have them turned off from a safety perspective. From a screening perspective, we're asking families to please make sure you're filling out those forms at least 30 minutes prior to the arrival of school, as staff will start having to go through, screen, make sure that students have filled them out, and then we'll have to go through a process of screening students on grounds and calling families upon arrival if the screening form is not complete. So again, we ask you to please make sure that you're following those important health. There's 2 columns in the health form, and you'll see it. It'll make more sense when you see it, but essentially if you have any 2 symptoms from column A or 1 symptom from column B or any symptoms overlapping in column A or B, students have to stay home and they have to be excluded until they are cleared. So we are following the New Jersey Department of Health screening form, and we do need to make sure we're being very mindful of keeping students home. There's no more toughing it out. If a student comes in, is not feeling well, this is not the time to dose up with Tylenol or Motrin and then send the student into school. We need to make sure we're taking care of everyone, and that means we need to make sure we're upholding the strictest of health guidelines to make sure we keep everyone safe. Again, when all the normal procedures that we've talked about through some of our summer communications in our roadback plan, but the importance of, again, face masks, hand washing, and social distancing are some of the key components of making sure that we're ensuring that we're not spreading virus or potentially spreading concerns around COVID. And at bus stops, we're asking families to please remember that as students are at bus stops, we're not to be congregating there. Families need to make sure they're working to help us patrol bus stops and keeping social distancing at the bus stop. All these components of separation and safety can feel a little, it can be a little discouraging for students. So again, we're asking that we're talking about these in advance, and we're making sure that our students understand the rules and procedures. And we're asking our parents to please help us with that. As students enter school, there's going to be certain doors that are open, and obviously they're going to be met by staff early on. There's 3 doors in each school that will have bioscanners. They'll do temp checks. It's a technology that sort of looks like the Terminator movies, where you'll actually do a body scan and will tell us whether or not a student or anyone entering the building is coming in with an above average temperature. There's a secondary screening process, and then ultimately a nurse check and isolation. It's possible a student might come in overheated from a car or bus, so there's a sort of a wait period or recheck, and then a student would be brought to an isolation room. If students are found to have potential symptoms and the student is sent home, it is a 14-day quarantine pending any kind of clearance, and or 14 days with fever-free. Again, following the NJDOH guidelines and working with our health officials. There are some really clear components that if we have 2 or more cases or independent of one another, could require a classroom and or a school to be shut down for an assessment period. Again, we're following the guidelines the best we can from the Department of Health, Center for Disease Control, but the New Jersey Department of Health has put out, I believe it's a 13 or 14 page guidance document starting on August 13th, and that's available online. So we're really working with our health officials on the implementation and what that means for our schools and our school community. This is going to require a partnership with our families and partnership and understanding about what we're being driven by and the health standards we're being asked to uphold to make sure we're keeping our school community safe. Again, for our staff, there's daily health screenings as well, and our staff will also have to go through temperature screenings as well as our students. This is everyone that comes into our school facilities are going to be subjected to certain processes. Our staff will be going through it the next 2 days during training as well. And just one other thing that separate and apart from the health screenings, just for parents that have children that are virtual, and there may be some wondering about how you're going to learn how to access the Google Classroom or get the codes. At the K-5 level, there'll be letters that come home from the staff, from the assigned teacher, that have the Google Classroom code and or Zoom link codes for your children, their students. At the 6-12 level, we're going to be populating something within the Google Classroom codes within the Genesis, so again, staff members using Google Classroom must add their classroom codes to the course page in Genesis. So you will be able to find it that way if you're in a hybrid classroom setting. And I would just again thank everyone for all the time and attention, the dedication of our staff this summer. And it's been a tremendous amount of work creating essentially 3 different models: an in-person, a virtual, and then a hybrid model. And again, with limited guidance throughout from our state officials. So just want to thank our staff and our administration for all the work they did to prepare for this upcoming year. And we believe we are well ready to receive our students and our staff. We're looking forward to the opening of the 2021 year. We ask for sort of patience with us, as we will inevitably have some bumps as we go. But again, a lot of credit to a lot of people for the hard work that they did to get us to opening in these circumstances. So with that, Ms. Case, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Dr. Underhold. I just wanted to point out that we probably should have said this at the outset, that the board met in another Zoom meeting prior to this one, where we called our meeting to order, which is why we're able to officially begin. At this time, it's the first opportunity for public comment. The board invites thoughts and reactions on agenda items and items of concern from members of our community who have submitted written comments on the form that was open and available on the district website up until the start of this first opportunity for public comment. All submissions containing all required fields completed will be viewed during the meeting and included as public comment in the official minutes. Each comment should be directed to the presiding officer, not individual members of the board, and will be read by the board attorney for 3 minutes in accordance with Board Policy 0167. If the comment extends beyond those 3 minutes, the full comment will be submitted and available as part of the meeting's public record. This public comment period shall be limited to 60 minutes. So with that, I'm going to thank Dr. Adderhold for sharing his screen, and I will turn it over to our board attorney, Mark Toscano, to read the comments.
Okay. The first comment is from Elizabeth Shai Pazinski, 1 Dorset, Princeton. I want to start by saying that we are deeply grateful to the school board for the ongoing efforts to keep our children safe. Our family does not take the devastation of COVID-19 lightly. We lost my mother, the children's grandmother, in April to COVID-19. We therefore take all precautions we can when it comes to my father, their grandfather, as well as everyone around us, out of respect and hope for beating this virus collectively. All that said, we do not take the mental and physical well-being lightly, especially during this unprecedented time of ever-present stress. Movement, especially with the inevitable and exponentially increasing virtual screen time, is vital for our developing tweens and teens. As a parent, I do the best I can to encourage it, but it is not sufficient. The thrill and fun and challenge of school sports provide extra motivation and camaraderie. We strongly believe that the choice to participate in school sports is an essential one, and it will be a strong contributor to all of our children's well-being. Our wish and ask, which I'm sure is echoed here a great deal today, is that our children be given the choice to participate in school sports. We have extreme respect and appreciation for all of the health data and guidelines and discuss it as a family daily. School sport participation can understandably look different this year and can and should be modified with strict social distancing measures in place. Nevertheless, at least the kids would be moving while learning how to cooperate and adapt as a team during these challenging times. Local club sports have recently been able to resume safely following strict health and safety precautions and guidelines, such as daily pre-screenings, mask distancing, limited to no contact, frequent sanitization. Thank you for your time and for being open to hearing from parents and families who want, above all else, mental and physical well-being for our children. This mental and physical well-being is at the root and foundation of their learning and growth, as well as how they will help others around them. It is vital now, as well as we navigate and move forward into a stronger and healthier future. Next comment is from Pamela Grund, 188 Conover Road, West Windsor. Board President Michelle Case. No one disagrees that our superintendent, board, and administrators should make our return to academics their top priority, but it shouldn't be their only one. Athletics is just as important as academics, and it's a key part of the district's commitment to the whole child, every child, and the social emotional learning of our students. Dr. Adderhold stated, it is our intention to honor the input of our school community and to meet the needs of all students and the realities of each family under the allowances provided by the New Jersey Department of Education and Governor Murphy. For academics, community input was considered and used to develop choices for our students and families. Safety practices and protocols were established with the health, safety, and wellness of our students as a priority. We need to apply the same logic and due diligence to athletics and provide solutions that work for our student athletes. Dr. Adderhold also stated that we need to provide structure and normalcy in a time of crisis and concern. What better way to provide that sense of normalcy than through sports? The governing body of the New Jersey High School Sports, the NJSIA, has provided guidance to safely return to sports this fall, and the governor supports this effort. Our students athletes need the in-person experience that sports provide to balance their virtual lives. I agree with Dr. Adderhold that teens will be teens, but believing that encouraging healthy behavior will minimize the temptation for bad ones. More importantly, athletics will provide mental stability and reduce stress during these unprecedented times. Our superintendent, Board of Education, and administration deserve a standing ovation for their efforts to provide the right choice for our academic return. They need to finish the job and provide our athletes with the same choice. Some of the safety protocols in place for academics can be applied to athletics, such as permitting students to waive district-provided transportation and daily temperature checks. Offer our coaches a phased-in approach to their salaries this fall. Call emergent board meetings when needed. There are other solutions to make this work. The reality is that our rate of transmission, positivity rate, and hospital admissions continue to trend favorably for Mercer County, New Jersey. We can compete safely within our district and with our conference families. Hashtag let them play. Sincerely, Pamela Grund. Email address, West Windsor. School sports are absolutely necessary for the players and coaches in high school. They are a lifestyle more than a sport, a family. Taking this away is not only devastating for players, but also for a complete school experience and seeing through as of now. It is only WWP and one or two other schools with canceled sports sessions in our entire conference. There is absolutely no reason to cancel fall sports. Club sports are still happening. Most other schools are finding a way to play, so can we. You just need to give it a chance and come up with a compromise. Next comment is from Daniel Grund, 188 Conover Road, West Windsor. Board President Michelle Cage. How can we accept and respect our district decision when other districts are moving forward? We weren't even given a chance to test the season. Hashtag let us play. Sincerely, Daniel Grund. Next comment is from Beth and Luke Kernan, 2 Benjamin Court, West Windsor. Michelle Cage, WWP School Board President. WWP is failing to protect our student athletes. As you know, WWP is the only suburban school in the Colonial Valley Conference not participating in the fall sports program. We are now an outlier among our peer schools. Your actions have put our student athletes at a much greater risk. Instead of participating in a controlled sport, being guided and supervised by their coaches and trainers, you have left the student athletes to their own devices. Our student athletes will be playing sports, hanging out with each other, and doing other activities instead of organized sports, all on their own. You have left our student athletes to watch their peers in surrounding schools participate and play. You have opened them up to depression and put them in danger of self-harm. You've taught them to be fearful, not responsible. You taught them to hide instead of stride. The damage you are doing to our student athletes is far greater than any chance of a virus harming them. How did we get to this point? 9 days after presentation of the WWP Restart and Reopening Plan, we received the letter canceling our fall sports program. 9 days. What changed in those 9 days? Look at Dr. Adderhold's letter, and here are a few examples of what he used to justify the decision. 1, Dr. Adderhold is concerned about the increased RT, rate of transmission. Dr. Adderhold cites in his letter that the RT has increased from 0.8 in June to 1.32 in August. In reality, the RT increased all that time due to a statistical dumping of 600 to 700 prior cases by Quest on June 23rd, thus inflating the August numbers. As of this letter, the RT in New Jersey is estimated at 0.9 NJDOH. Number 2, Dr. Adderhold fears an increase of infection if sports are played. Dr. Adderhold goes on to say how competing against other districts increases the risk of infection to our students, and it validates the efforts to keep schools safe and open. Yet, club sports and little leagues have been practicing and competing all summer long with the governor's approval. There's not been an increase of the number of infection across the state, county, or in our 2 towns. Number 3, Dr. Adderall is following the directions of those in-state and out-of-state colleges that have canceled their programs. Dr. Adderall goes on to cite some of the college conferences that have been canceled. Comparing college sport programs to high school sport programs is not a fair comparison. College sports play sports in different states and travel to different areas. College infections are not typically linked to sports, but to college parties. Dr. Adderall sent an email on August 24th after he received pushback from athletes and parents on the decision. He cites several things that are confusing. Number 1, schools have gone virtual. 130 schools in New Jersey have chosen to go virtual. Yes, but that has nothing to do with outdoor sport programs. As per the governor, even though the school may be virtual, their students can still participate in fall sport programs. Number 2, NJSA guidelines for school sports does not include masks and distancing while playing. Dr. Adderall cites Governor Murphy's mask and distancing rule, not the NJSA's guidance for high school sports, which specifies masks on the side. Madam President, that was 3 minutes. Do you want me to continue with this?
How much more left to that comment? Okay, why don't you read a little quickly and finish that one up, okay?
I'm sorry. Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. Dr. Adderall cites the mask and distancing rule, not the NJSA guidance for high school sports, which specifies masks on the sidelines, but not during play. Phase 2 of the guidelines since June 15th. The NJSA guidelines have been approved by the governor. Why would these guidelines not be approved by WAP? 3, limiting student interaction outside of cohorts. He cites that to maintain the safety of the academic environment, he has limited interactions outside of student cohorts. Students who are not in quarantine will be interacting with other students outside the school setting. WT School Board should revisit this decision immediately. The decision was made too early. It was made without flexibility. It was made unilaterally, using fear, not facts. As its basis, our students deserve the chance that all their student athletes in this conference, county, and state have been given. WWP is an outlier, and this time it's not a good thing. Sincerely, Beth and Luke Kierman, John and Luke, class of 2021, South Varsity Soccer. The next comment is from Zana Zaket to Shelley Court, Princeton Junction. To Michelle Case, Board President, let me start by saying we respect the time, discussion, and review that went into the decision to go back to schools and sports clubs resuming by everyone involved. We are asking and hoping for an opportunity to work with all parents, coaches, Board of Education, administration to revisit the decision regarding canceling fall sports and allow for a modified return to fall sports plan for our school district that would be supervised and follow guidelines outlined, supported by the NJSAA and the governor. The mental and physical well-being of our kids is of utmost importance, as is with all staff involved. If we as a school district pledge ourselves to develop the whole child, then we need to balance this semester with academics and extracurricular activities, as we have in previous years. Otherwise, the mental and physical well-being of our children is impacted. If we can come up with a hybrid academic model, we can create a modified fall sports model by working together. All summer long, youth outdoor sports have been in safe practice and play around the state, and there's not been any direct correlation to an outbreak related to outdoor youth sports. We ask that you please reconsider allowing the student athletes to return to play this season, as have the majority of New Jersey school districts, while following the guidelines put in place by the NJSAA and Governor Murphy. Thank you. Next comment is from Melanie Wilhelm, 44 Slayback Drive, West Windsor. Dr. Adderall prematurely canceled the fall sports athletic season. The reason that he cited to cancel the season were either generalized statements about safety or quoting statistics that ultimately had no impact on our community. Transmission rate remains below 1.0, and as of August 13th, Princeton Hospital has 0 COVID patients. In fact, there are only 484 people with COVID hospitalized in the entire state. It is unreasonable to wait for this virus to be fully eradicated before we move forward with living. Per the NJSAA, 100,000 New Jersey children participated in organized sports in July and August without any negative impact to the players, coaches, family, or the community. This includes wrestling, lacrosse, basketball, soccer, baseball, softball, and many high schools that began football practice in July. I'm not asking that the school district do anything different than virtually every other school district in the state is doing. Hundreds of New Jersey schools have figured out a way to play. Thousands of students are playing this fall while our kids are sidelined. We have already wasted 2 months for our children to engage in meaningful activity and interaction that would have given them the opportunity to relieve the stress and isolation that they've had to bear for nearly 6 months. As it stands, athletes are now forced to leave the district to pursue the whole child experience. That is WWP's very own motto. There's still time to reinstate fall sports, and I implore you to let them play. Next comment is from Catherine Ponticello, 4 Brookfield Way, West Windsor. I would like the school district to reverse its position on canceling the fall sports program. There are many students that feel overlooked in our district's competitive academic environment, and where they fit and find their value within the school district. School setting is on a playing field. Their sports is their identity, and our athletics program has been their outlet to show their talent and bond with peers. To return to the pressure of a school year without the opening of sports competition and the ability to express themselves on the field is the wrong decision. Our district needs to allocate the resources and plan for a season like the surrounding districts have done. We must show our student athletes that they are supported. Next comment, Brian Mayer, 31 Cranberry Road, Princeton Junction.
Mr. Toscano, Mr. Mayer's comment is actually below. It looked like he had challenged when it first went in, and he does show it below.
It's the next one below. Okay, got it. Michelle Brace.
There was these next 2 comments are highlighted because they were resubmissions of the same comment.
I understand. Okay. Adina Kassoff, 19 Hereford Drive, Princeton Junction. As the West Windsor family with 2 athletic boys, we are very disappointed with Dr. Adderholt's unilateral decision to cancel fall sports for WWP this fall. We are struggling to understand how and why such a decision was reached. The COVID numbers in Mercer County are so low, and there is little threat to the athletes, coaches, or the community. Our governor and NJSAA are supportive of sports resuming. One of our sons has been participating in travel baseball since June. His team has safely and successfully practiced twice per week and participated in numerous regional tournaments throughout the summer. Our other son was looking forward to playing high school football this fall. While we value the importance WWP puts on education, we want to return to school this fall that allows the student to participate safely in outdoor activities as other townships around us are doing. We pay so much in taxes that we believe our township should be able to find a way to resume in-person education as well as activities. Thank you. Next comment is from Ed Hammerly, 533 Village Road West, Princeton Junction. Michelle Cage, good evening. And thank you for the opportunity to have my voice heard. One simple question, is the cure worse than the disease? Are we taking what is and was a serious illness for a segment of the population and turning it into a vastly larger problem that is going to reverberate its harm for decades to come into our society? How much more of the lockdowns do you think our children can handle? How much more TV watching? How many more video games? What does 12 hours a day of phone usage do to the undeveloped brain? What about increased drug use, alcohol use, domestic violence, depression, obesity, hopelessness, and fear? How much time do we have before we permanently damage our children? While we focus on a threat to children that is statistically less dangerous than the regular flu, are we going to let fear fog our ability to comprehend the vast amount of COVID data being collected around the world? We now know who is at risk from COVID, and we know who and how to protect the vulnerable. We also know the physiological damage caused by closing down society. I'm confident WWP can figure out a way to walk and chew gum. We can figure out a way to have academics and athletics providing normalcy in 2 different spectrums of our child's consciousness. WWP opening athletics isn't going to somehow change the world's trajectory on this problem. And I'm not surely suggesting the school board or the superintendent responsible for the place we find ourselves in. But geez, can someone please, in this moment in time, be the one that stands up against fear-driven policies and move that one chess piece in the right direction so that maybe one kid has a reason to get up in the morning, to exercise, to laugh, to live, and to have meaningful interaction with another human being. Our battle here is not against COVID in our schools. We are battling for the protection of our children's mental well-being. Thank you for your time. Next comment is from Jane Gersick, 20 Dunbar Drive, West Windsor. If you haven't felt a really hot day make you weak, stood in the freezing rain, or felt your feet turn to ice while playing soccer, then you're not an athlete. Athletes will play in any condition as long as they can play. They don't feel a thing, they just want to play. They just keep going no matter what. They just keep going through a pandemic, through school closings, through no graduation and no proms, through wearing masks and concerned parents, through not seeing their friends and being scared to death by what you hear. They just keep playing. You take away the field, you stop the play. They can't keep going. Next comment is from Gary Grund, 188 Conover Road, West Windsor, presiding officer. Less than 8% of high school athletes go on to play varsity sports in college, which means 92% of the athletes have only 4 years to be part of an athletic team. 4 short years to learn the values of competition, sportsmanship, teamwork, and make the fond memories that they will have for the rest of their lives. These kids have another 40 plus years to worry about work, caring for a family, and building a better society. The lessons learned in high school sports contribute to all these endeavors. How can you take this away from these hardworking, fun-loving kids? Let them play. Go Pirates 2020. Sincerely, Gary Grunt.
This is a repeated entry.
Okay. Next comment is from Brian Mayer, 31 Cranberry Road, Princeton Junction. September 1, 2020, West Windsor-Plainsboro Board of Education meeting. To Michelle Case, Board President. My name is Brian Mayer, and I graduated from WWP in 1990. My wife, Heather Mayer, graduated from WWP in 1993. My son, Morgan, is a senior at WWP South, and my daughter, Ava, is a freshman at WWP South. Morgan plays baseball, Ava plays field hockey and softball. In the 1980s, when my wife and I entered WWP High School, we experienced very early why the district was a special environment. We both had great teachers, administrators, and coaches. We were taught to focus on our classes, but also how important it was to become well-rounded young adults by joining clubs and playing sports. Many successful alumni that I still talk to attribute a large amount of success that they achieve today to the lessons they learned on the field as a Pirate. Some examples of amazing mentors are Coach Tom Stewart, Coach Brian Welch, Coach Dave Christensen, Coach Don Hutchinson. This group of teachers taught life lessons both in the classroom and on the fields. WWP is now fortunate enough to have mentors such as Brian Fisher, Walt Connors, and Jeff Riley. We need to keep the tradition moving forward of mentors helping students become successful adults. I have been coaching numerous sports in West Windsor for over a dozen years. I apologize, it's just cut off, on numerous youth sports in the community. I lost it. I'm sorry. I'm sports in the community such as West Windsor Little League and West Windsor Wildcats football and cheer. This summer, in cooperation with local medical professionals, health departments, and national youth organizations, I assisted the West Windsor Little League design and implement a return to play safety guidelines and protocol plan. West Windsor Little League obtained proper PPE and launched a summer baseball program that started playing in July. That summer season was a huge success, with safety compliance being followed, children playing games, and the community being able to have some pleasure in very challenging times. In addition, my children played baseball, softball, and field hockey all summer long on travel teams going against other teams all over New Jersey, as well as New York, Pennsylvania, and Delaware. No cases of COVID-19 reported to either West Windsor Little League or any teammates or my children all summer long. I commend the actions of the district in the spring because the data and health officials made the case for flattening the curve to further the spread of the virus. Today, the data health professionals and Governor Murphy present a very different environment. Governor Murphy has backed the return to play guidelines the NGSA has instituted. Governor Murphy has also recently approved indoor dining and movie theaters reopening with certain capacity restrictions. Other schools down the street from WWP are planning fall sports seasons. The data is showing us the number of cases and spot positivity rate and daily positivity rate are all the way down. Local medical professionals are more concerned with the increase in mental health cases versus a few questions. Why can't we have a public discussion about how we can safely return these athletes to athletic fields? What data is needed to be seen in the future to reconsider the decision? What happened to the spirit of WWP to not give up on an ideal until we've exhausted all resources? I appreciate the difficult times we live in, but now is the time to let them play. Thank you, the Mayor family. Excuse me. The next comment is from Olin Johnson, 5 Mayfair Terrace, Plainsboro. I would like to express my disappointment in the Superintendent Adderholt's decision to forego the upcoming high school sports season. Disappointed because high school sports are an integral component of a secondary education. While the superintendent listed safety as the primary reason for the cancellation, he provided no definition of what was unsafe and offered no data points that would indicate that playing sports in the fall would be unsafe. The governor of New Jersey and the governing body of high school sports in New Jersey have both indicated that high school sports are safe to be played. Less than 10 of the close to, it's cut off, I'm going to guess it's 1,000 school districts in New Jersey have elected to cancel fall sports. If the superintendent is going to take such an extreme position, he needs to explain the reason thoroughly. Instead, he seemed only to repeat the vague term safety and quote headlines in his explanation. The explanation letter by the superintendent provided no hope, no inspiration, and no light at the end of the tunnel. A letter capped off with the statement the decision was final, would not be changed for any reason. How can someone in a leadership position refuse to be flexible when new information becomes available daily? This cancellation of fall sports and the way it was communicated has left the student athletes, coaches, and parents in the district feeling betrayed, as if all their hard work and aspirations really do not matter. This is having a negative effect on a populace that has already been beset with adversity for months. We have some phenomenal coaches in this district. Some of these coaches go beyond, I'm sorry, could we just scroll that down? I apologize. Their on-field coaching duties to be mentors and guidance counselors, student athletes who struggle academically and may have minimal sport at home. I have great concerns about what happens to these students without their sport or coaches. Is the safety of these at-risk students, athletes being considered? The only other disturbing aspect of the explanation is that even if we did try and play a season, it would end swiftly due to an outbreak. That sounds to me like giving up without trying, something athletes are taught is unacceptable. The decision and way it was delivered is sure to cause some families and coaches to reconsider continuing in the WWP school district. Losing only a handful of players and coaches from some of our teams that are already struggling could foreshadow the death spiral of these sports in our WWP school district. Even if, as the superintendent has told us, it is solely his decision, the board will be held accountable for these results. Next comment is from Alex Patzelin, 524 Village Road, Princeton Junction. To the presiding officer, sports are an essential part of the high school experience and mean more to the fall athletes whose season has been canceled. The NJSA has ruled that they will have a fall sports season, and Governor Murphy has approved club sports to resume playing as of July 1st. These sports have been and can be played in a safe environment for practice and games. With the use of masks and attention to safety measures, having a sports season poses no major risk. Let the seniors have that sense of normalcy that they have been cheated out of. Other schools in the area who are playing fall athletics, for the most part, have implemented all virtual learning. This ensures complete safety to those students and their families, along with providing options for fall athletes. Studies show that COVID-19 is significantly more viral in indoor settings. One way to combat this is the use of outdoor circulation or complete outdoor interaction. Going all virtual will also guarantee better oversight for practices and games. The board must consider the emotional, social, and physical well-being of having fall sports. Student athletes are our leaders in class, in the hallways, and of course on the field. They set examples for young classes and represent WWP in the community. They are more than just athletes. They are well-rounded, multifaceted people who without sports wouldn't be where they are today. Not only is this season important for those who will be graduating this year, but it's crucial for WWP's future leaders. The community understands that this decision is not taken lightly and is more complicated than making the decision. But with proper communication between the school board, coaches, and student athletes, we can safely implement a fall season, whether that be intramural or even letting them use the school facilities to host practice. It is inevitable that there will be another wave of COVID-19 in the fall and the winter. What is to say that winter sports will be canceled or spring? We as a school district need to start asking these questions and come up with the answers that protect and provide for our students with a successful year. Next comment is from Robin Roan, 5 Rutland Court, Princeton Junction. The decision to cancel all 4 sports was made without input from student athletes, their parents, or the community, without any discussion of the impact or potential alternatives. The student athletes tried to make their voices heard and presented a plan for fall sports that offered sound and compliant solutions based on facts about COVID. NGSA guidelines and their own experience playing sports with precautions all summer. We still have time to engage them, salvage the sports season, and let them know their voices matter. Don't keep them sidelined while virtually every other district in the state is playing fall sports. They deserve better. Next comment is from Allie Rome, 5 Rutland Court, West Windsor. Hi, Presiding Officer Cage. My comment is regarding accessibility to field space and facilities within our schools. With the cancellation of fall sports and denial of any extracurricular activity for WWE students, there are limited spaces for students to exercise and play sports recreationally. Opening up field space, such as the high school turf after school, would greatly help all students. These fields don't have to be open to the public. You could limit them to just WWE students. They would provide a way to help athletes and all students stay in shape, which would promote all aspects of health. Additionally, it would show that WWP is still an open space for athletes and the district still values the physical well-being of a student. Regulation for such areas could be easily enforced and it would promote overall health. Gyms are open, club teams are practicing, and most WWP recreational programs are functioning. With all this said, the opening of athletic facilities is surely doable. Next comment is from Luke Kiernan, email address West Windsor. Travel soccer continued throughout the quarantine with no issues. Why can't we play? Hashtag let us play. Next comment is from Andy Bay, 7201 Rue Terrace, Plainsboro. When is there going to be any kind of communication between the school board and the student athletes? I can't believe there was none of that making the decision for fall season. Please take a look at any other clubs. WWP shows lack of attention and care for athletes. I'm proud to have great peers and amazing educators around me, but I'm disappointed in the WWP school district. Dr. Adderhold and the new athletic director need to take responsibility for the mistakes they made. I'm asking the athletic director to have an open conversation with the athletes regarding this issue. Respectfully, Andy Bay. Next comment is from Joshua Chiquette, 2 Shelley Court, West Windsor. We can walk around a school with 399 other kids every day for 4 hours. Then why can I not play with my closest friends in my senior year on a huge soccer field when we stand on a formation that is more than 6 feet apart? Next comment is from John Kiernan, email address West Windsor, hashtag let us play. Next comment, John Kiernan, 2 Benjamin Court. Why is that we can go to school with 500 people for 4 hours per day, but we can't play an 11 versus 11 soccer game for 90 minutes? Hashtag let us play. Next comment is Zumana Konate, email address Plainsboro. What's the point of having weeks of hybrid if fall sports are canceled? Shouldn't it be much worse in your views since we're all going to be close to each other? Hashtag let us play. Next comment, Sandy Johnson, 5 Mayfair Terrace, Plainsboro. I feel a fraction of what I can only imagine the coaches and student athletes feel with WWP's decision to cancel fall sports. I have heard from many student athletes and they are devastated, angry, upset, and feel betrayed. The school district that touts the whole child motto is letting down a big portion of their community. This includes all the students that participate in extra activities besides just sports. This is what sustains the students' mental and physical health. More than ever, we need these extracurricular activities, including sports, to buoy the students through these tough times. We all need socially distant interactions. I get asked all the time by the students if there's anything the parents can do to reverse this decision because they are desperate and because they are hopeful we are on the same team that worked with Dr. Adderhold to fight the state successfully to merge the football team. I want to be able to say, yes, we looked at all the options. Yes, we consulted local pediatricians, school doctors. Yes, we reviewed all the local statistics. Yes, we reviewed the finances. But have we done our due diligence? Have we spoken to local doctors about Mercer and Middlesex County's transition rates? The answer is no, we have not. Because we have not done our due diligence, I feel we preemptively canceled our fall season on the basis of it being unsafe. How can other school districts in our conference make it work? Because they're willing to put forth the effort and it's important to them. We have WWP parents that are willing to make it work and will help to make it work. Our family has tried our best to support WWP. With my husband as a football coach and me as the president of the Football Booster Club, we have had great experiences with the administration, coaches, and teachers. But I will say that student athletes will have to look elsewhere to ensure their overall needs are met. The academics or WWP are unparalleled, but the sports opportunities have been eliminated preemptively. This does not spell whole child to me. I implore you to reconsider your decision for the sake of the children, for their mental health and their physical health. Thank you for the opportunity for comments. Wish you all well. Hashtag let them play. Next comment is from John Gersick, 11 Woodland Court, West Windsor. I've always supported the administration through this pandemic and appreciate the chance to provide feedback during the process to help figure out the fall sports year. However, I'm very disappointed in the decision not to play sports. Sports is a great opportunity for kids to learn many team skills, grit, and perseverance. There are crucial life lessons that are learned on the field. We have such high standards for our academics. Why do we not demand the same for our team sports and support the whole child? Do not sit in your seats tonight and do nothing. I supported many of you in your election to the board and have no reservations to vote you out next election. This is too important for the kids.
I believe that's it.
Madam President, that's all the comments that were submitted.
Thank you, Mr. Toscano, for reading those comments. I think that we can all agree that more than anything, we wish that we were starting this new school year as we have every other September before this. But unfortunately, that is not possible. So right now, more than ever, our fundamental goal and our number one priority is to do everything that we can to ensure a safe in-person learning experience at our schools. I would just like to take a couple of minutes to address some of the concerns that were raised tonight. I think it's important for the members of the public to understand that board members represent the entire community. Above all, we are responsible for and to the thousands of students and staff who make up our WWP community. In compliance with the law and within our budget, every policy we approve and every action that we take needs to be grounded in what is best for the education of our students. When we are elected, and our board attorney, Mr. Toscano, can back me up on this, we are bound by a code of ethics that specifically says that we are not allowed to make any personal promises or surrender our independent judgment for personal gain or for the gain of our friends. Sometimes as board members, our opinions or our decisions may not align with the beliefs or the positions of those who voted for us, or even those, in addition to that, who are our friends. By far, those are among the most difficult decisions that we make. But we make them because we are unwavering in our commitment to uphold our duties and exercise our judgment as board members to the best of our ability. As my board colleague and friend Tony Flaris likes to remind us all the time, reasonable minds can disagree. So I want to thank everyone who took the time to submit a public comment tonight, as well as all of those who have sent emails and texts and Facebook messages to me, and I'm sure to other members of the board. I want you to know that while we may disagree with you sometimes, that does not mean that you have not been heard. I can assure you that we hear you and we are always, always listening. But while I hear what you are saying and even agree with many of the points that you raised tonight, I've also listened to other points of view. And as demonstrated by the decisions of numerous other institutions, including all New Jersey college programs and other local and private high schools, there are other points of view. Among those squares on the screen are 9 board members who care deeply about our schools and our community. And as board members, we do not run the schools. We make sure that they are well run. So while there was no board vote taken or needed in the decision made about fall sports, and as upsetting and disappointing as it is for students involved in sports and their families and friends, the superintendent has explained to the entire community and discussed with the 9 of us why he believes WWP cannot run fall sports safely. And from my point of view, it seems like the full board agrees with him. I want everyone to know that the work being done in preparation for the start of school is enormous and incredibly complex. So many people have been working tirelessly to ensure that we are ready to open safely on September 8th. The health, wellness, and safety of our students drives every single district decision. My board colleagues and I have the utmost confidence and trust in Dr. Adderhold's leadership, especially during these uncharted days. Sometimes we just have to agree to disagree. But even in disagreement, I hope that everyone can respect that no decisions are made lightly and are only made after careful, diligent consideration, prioritizing the best interests of the entire WWP community. With that, I'm going to ask Dr. Adderhold if he has anything that he'd like to say.
Thank you, Ms. Case. I'll jump in with a couple comments based on some of the public comments mentioned. First, let me say that I respect parents' right and students' right to speak this evening and to raise concerns about decisions made. I have read all correspondence that have come into me. I believe I have responded back to most, if not all. There may be 1 or 2 outstanding student responses that I owe that have just recently come in. But to say that we haven't given due diligence to this matter is not a fair statement, not true, and not accurate. So with great exception, I respectfully push back on the idea that we have not spent time working through the potentiality of running sports. And it is our judgment that it is not safe. It's not fear-mongering. It's when we look at the totality of running this district, taking into consideration the staff considerations and safety, take into consideration the safety of our student athletes and of our families and of the greater West Windsor-Plainsboro community. And that means our greater school community. We have an obligation, not just to our athletes, but all of our students that enter our buildings. And it's a fundamental risk we're not willing to take, that I'm not willing to take. And for those that have submitted comments that the NJSIA is the be-all, end-all agency now on guidance on this particular topic, yet 4 years ago, we railed against the rules when they're out there doing what was not in the best interest of children. And we've worked hard to change the rules to allow athletes to play. I sit on the NJSI Co-op committee in order to try to preserve sport going forward in WWP, as many families know that co-ops will be needed to secure our sports going forward. And they've already been talked about in a multitude of other sports. And I do that to try to preserve sport, not eliminate sport. So this is very much about the health, wellness, and safety of our students, our student athletes in our community. And to other school districts that are making choices right now to play, the reality is, when asked on the side, should they play? Do they believe it's safe to play? The reality is this meeting and the pushback that's received is exactly why they won't make the decision. The reality is that the fear of public comment and the fear of public raising up against the Board of Education and the superintendent outweigh the potential risks to students, and that's just not right. And I'll never put student safety on the line for fear of public comment, never. And the arguments for co-oping back in the day for football were about the same kinds of safety considerations that I would argue that we shouldn't put athletes on the field today. If we go back to March 10th, when we first discussed closure, we were at 334 cases in the state of New Jersey. When we closed, we were at 700 3 days later. We hover in the mid fours, sometimes spike into 5 and sometimes drop into 3. Right. So if we were back in March, we would be highly concerned with the numbers that are in front of us today. And it's going to take everyone's great effort just to keep schools open. And yet we're willing to forgo all that. In fact, some comments suggest we should close so we can keep sports going. Sports are an extracurricular activity. They're not the curricular activity that is our primary charge. And using whole child and SEL as an attempt to try to essentially weaponize that against the district fundamentally discounts what SEL and whole child are all about. And it shows a fundamental misunderstanding of what those topics mean. And so when we talk about whole child, we're talking about, number one, a commitment to health and safety. Those are two of the tenets, the very tenets of whole child. Making students are supported and engaged and challenged are the others. And so we can't pick one tenet necessarily over the others, but we have to look at the totality of the picture in front of us and the challenges that we face. And I'm not willing to put the entire school community at risk in an attempt to get a couple weeks of sports in a community that almost everyone in public ed believes we're going to inevitably end up in some form of closure. The numbers grow by the day. And yet here we are trying our best to open up to make sure that programs that students desperately need can run. We're trying to make sure that we can keep our doors open to meet the needs of our special education students, our self-contained populations, our ESL students, our early readers, our kindergarten K through 5 population. And this is all matters in totality, the full picture that we're up against. And I appreciate advocacy. I appreciate parents that want to fight for their children's right to do something that is being blocked. I get it as a dad of 5. Right? I understand loss and what students have lost. Those arguments aren't lost on me. I hear your arguments, but your arguments don't compel me to change my opinion. And at the end of the day, this safety decision is not something I can outsource to a committee. At the end of the day, the safety decision stops with me. And the board at this point, no, not at this point, the board does not have a say in a personnel matter that's not brought in front of them. So there is no further personnel matter that will be coming forward the board tonight. There is no personnel matter that will be coming forward. There are some conversations in the thread that I will go back and explore with our athletic director and principals regarding facility utilization and talking about opportunities for practice, for athletic opportunity, exercise. But that does not mean we'll engage in teams in the field of play. The Board of Education back in July brought forward a sidebar agreement with the Education Association in which our coaches, our head varsity coaches, were paid a prorated stipend to ensure that team could continue for the social, emotional, mental health and well-being, to make sure that team activity, team connection, that also includes our marching band families. And that was brought forward, and our varsity coaches and our marching band advisors were approved at that meeting. Again, for the expectation of a virtual online experience, virtual workouts. The athletes that want to stay connected need to connect and commit to that. And at this time, some coaches have voiced frustration because some of the student athletes rightly may not be sure how this is going to play out. And we respect that. But going forward, those that want to commit to team and participation have every right to do so that way. So the idea that we're somehow discounting mental health, we completely respect the importance of team. And we fought for the importance of team in years gone by, and we will so going forward in the future. And we do so respect it now. But the idea of team and participation and then risking health is something that we're not going to do at this time. So we have talked to outside experts. We have talked to individuals that have given guidance beyond the administration. We haven't just looked at a chart and come up with a decision, taken the easy way out. We've labored over this. It's not easy to know you're going to be taking hits with the public comments. The easy thing would be to do is put them on the field. The hard thing to do is to uphold what you believe is right to make sure that you're taking care of the safety, health, and well-being of your school community. That's the hard thing. The easy thing would be to just put them on the field and risk their health, wellness. And we don't know the long-term medical impacts to our teens, which are one of the fastest growing cases across the nation. As schools revisit and re-enter all across the South, we're seeing rising cases of our teens. And it wasn't me that said teenagers will be teenagers. It was the executive director of the NGSIA, Colleen McGuire, that said teenagers will be teenagers, assuming that it's an inevitability. As there's currently 8 schools in the state of New Jersey that have student athletes in quarantine. Right now, today, as we go into the 2-week hiatus period before practices start, 8 teams currently have kids in quarantine. And the summer didn't go off without a hitch, without any problems. There were teams across the state that experienced problems and teams that had to withdraw from tournament play. What you didn't see is press report it because they wanted it to go just as badly as the parents did. So with respect to our community and my responsibility to our greater community, I will not be coming forward with a modified recommendation to this Board of Education. I appreciate the feedback of the community. I appreciate the desire and commitment to sports from this community. And I trust we'll be able to bring back sports in the future to our community. But at this time, our students and our staff well-being trumps one's desire to play at this time. Thank you, Ms. Case.
Thank you, Dr. Adderhold. That brings us
Michelle?
to our committee reports.
Michelle,
Oh, Michelle, I wanted to say, Michelle,
Yes.
I know my committee
I'm having some,
report.
I'm
Oh, I was
sorry.
gonna say, I know my
Things are
committee
freezing up.
meeting, my committee report is not first. So I just have something I want to just add a little bit to. I
Thank
just
you.
wanted to say that I appreciate all the comments and time that people spent to really think through their concerns with their families and children about sports and athletics. And I know many of you know me and my family from many, many years of my children playing sports in our community, in our high schools. We've run tournaments and all kinds of things. I'm actually sitting at my desk and just happened to look to the side and see that I actually have a picture of one of my kids playing Little League right here to the side. But I just want to share that I too, I feel your frustration. I feel your sadness, and I feel your sense of loss and disappointment. I have one of my own children is a fall sport athlete in high school right now. And we've had many, many disappointing and, heart-wrenching conversations over the last few months just around this, because it's, this is tough for teenagers and for everyone. We're all going through very difficult times. But I also I also have a very juxtaposed life, because I have a teenager who really wants to play. I have older children who've played all through high school. And I have a college student who is taking classes from our home because the school is not allowing large swaths of the community to come back to school for fear of passing the SARS-CoV-2 to others. And I also wanted to say that, so the juxtaposition is that I'm also, my father is a virologist, and I've spent my whole life listening to stories about pandemics and what could happen, and, listening to dinner conversations about the 1918, influenza pandemic and what could have been done differently. And I always sort of thought it was like science fiction. But unfortunately it's not. And, as my father's been telling me, he was telling me starting in January that we really need to be focused on how to control the virus. And the only way to do that is to keep people separated, and which is really hard because we're all social people and we want to be with our friends and our family. And we have to really limit that. And so I'm dealing with this on a personal level, and I've also been, and unfortunately this over the last month, attended 3 funerals virtually of people who have passed from COVID. And it's, it's very real. And these are people of different ages. And these are people, some of whom we know in our community. I also have many friends who have gone through this virus, some of whom are still not feeling well even today. And I know that the only way to sort of control this is that we have to maintain our social distance. We have to take all the measures that we need to do going to keep this at bay. And I just, wanted to say that public health usurps everything. We have to be, and I think that we need to be bold about keeping our community safe. It's not just about our kids. It's about the whole community. It's about our state. It's about our country. And I hope that we can understand where we're going with it, what the decision that was made, how that impacts everyone, and how that seems to be the way we need to head in the future, so that we can keep the keep the numbers low, if not, and feel and continue to do the things that we're doing now, and not have to return to some kind of lockdown or anything. So those are my off-the-cuff remarks. But so thank you for allowing me to share that. Thanks.
Thank you, Dana.
Madam President, may I interject and have some comments as well?
Absolutely.
If you
Thank
don't
you.
mind.
Go right ahead, Martin. Thank you.
Thank you. So first and foremost, I want to sincerely thank all of the parents who have called me, emailed me, texted me, also sent emails to Dr. Adderhold and many of the school board members present on this call. For many of you, this is something that's near and dear to my heart, athletics and sports, from a few different vantage points and perspectives. Number one, I'm not only a school board member, but I'm a parent of 5 children. 2 of them already graduated from High School South. I have 3 remaining children in the district. 2 are, one is middle school and one is also at High School South, and they both play sports. As Michelle has alluded to, our support for Dr. Adderhold and our support as a board for this decision, we are fully in support, while at the same time, there have been incredible measures taken and phone calls and emails taken to make sure that a decision, this decision was not taken lightly, especially conversations that I've had personally with Dr. Adderhold. For many of you in the public and the community may not know, when I premise this conversation or this statement that sports is near and dear to my heart, I've been involved with sports for literally 28 years, and I'm talking about from the collegiate level on. I'm a former Division I basketball player at the University of Texas, San Antonio. I worked 8.5 years for the National Basketball Association and the NBA. So when we talk about, especially from the community, the sacrifice that is taking place right now, we all are very, very cognizant that there's been tremendous sacrifice, not only in this state district, in the state, but there's been tremendous sacrifice that has taken place throughout this nation. And one of that, and to bring that back to athletics, obviously behind my head, I have an athlete with the red gloves on by the name of Muhammad Ali, who obviously endangered his entire career and the sacrifice he made in the 60s. I'd also like to allude, although we're in WWP, you saw some of the my NBA brothers and sisters last week, obviously stand for the social justice issues that are going on. So while there are major issues and concerns here in WWP, there are also incredible social justice sacrifice issues that are going on around this nation that we should, be cognizant about. And I'm not saying any parent or anybody in this district or community is not, but I'm sensing from a lot of people that there's tremendous sacrifice that's going to take place from their child not having sports this fall. My children will not have sports as well this fall, and we don't know what winter will look like, or the spring as well. But at this point in time, I also like to say, most people know me in this community. I run and operate, and I'm not going to say the name because this is a public meeting, but I run and operate a very, very large athletic and sports cultural club right here in town, and have done so for almost 6.5 years. And Governor Murphy obviously set the executive order in place last week to open health clubs and gyms and things of that nature. I had a meeting for 5.5 hours yesterday with my staff here in my professional life, my professional business, based in and around safety guidelines, precautions, and it's not easy. So like I said, I'm giving this perspective from someone who is incredibly passionate about sports, absolutely loves sports. A friend of mine is a commissioner of sports of a major Division I conference. I've spoken in the last 2.5 months with Division III, Division I, Division II coaches, athletic directors, even some players, because I've been mentoring athletes for a very long time. And although I think one of the public comments said that 8% of high school students will go on to college, obviously at the Division I level, which I've been a part of for years and years and years as a player and also as a mentee to many individuals, obviously to play at the Division I level is very, very hard. And as we've seen, the NCAA has not shut down any sports around the nation, but we see that the College of New Jersey, Rider, Princeton University, and all of the fall sports in our state have been shut down. Pac-12 is shut down. The Big 12 has shut down. But the NCAA, and I have several friends who work for the NCAA, has not shut down college sports across the board. So this is obviously something that each district, each community, each school, each college, each state is making a decision. So I just wanted to, let the parents in the community know how incredibly passionate I am, not only about sports, but also about your children's well-being. Like I said, I have two kids who play middle school and high school sports this upcoming year, and they potentially may not be able to play. But it's not just about my children, and and if anyone knows what I've been about for this community, WWP, for the last 14 years, and the work that I've done here in my business for the last 6.5 years for the community, I never look at anything from the perspective of just singular, my personal family. It's always, and I mean always, about everyone in this community and everyone being safe and everyone coming together. Everyone knows that is my motto: coming together, working together. But at this point in time, there are a lot of safety things that we have to look at, and the good and well-being of the safety and the health, not only of the student athletes, we also, because every single day for 6.5 years, because I run a business that services 20,000 West Windsor-Plainsboro parents and kids and students and grandparents every day, we have a tremendous amount of grandparents who also live in the homes of these students. So I look at things from a big, large perspective. And like I said, I've had many conversations with other school board colleagues and some of the parents right here who have made comments tonight. And I sincerely appreciate all of those comments. I sincerely appreciate it. And I know many people are frustrated. Many people are disappointed. Not only sports, but life has changed in the last 5 months. Restaurants and things of that nature are just about to go back to indoor dining, vacations, and so many things have been taken away in the last 5 months. I just want us to look at a perspective of the sacrifice that's been taken, has been done and operated by so many people in this nation. But at the same point in time, that does not mean we want to remove things and we want things removed from any of our student athletes. We definitely care so very much about our student athletes and their health and their well-being, and also going forward, whether they play in college or not. That matters not. That matters not if anyone's going to be a Martin Whitfield at a Division I basketball, soccer, football institution. It matters not. What matters is their health and well-being right now. And unfortunately, the pandemic is going on right now. So we have to make wise, practical, logical decisions to ensure that these kids not only have future season, hopefully a winter and spring, but they have future seasons in life, because the seasons of life are going to be far more important, because that is what sports has done for me. Team camaraderie, working together, teamwork, all the work that I do. People ask me now, how do you work 75, 80 hours a week for the last 6 years running the club and the athletic cultural center that you do? And I say a lot of those key points came from me playing high-level Division I sports, playing grassroots sports. A lot of those intricate characteristics came from playing sports. So trust me, you're looking at somebody where sports has been a major, major part of their life, a major part of their life. And I absolutely love it across the board. I love athletics. I love seeing people train. I go around the parks and I see people training. I've done multiple sports on this campus, obviously. So, and we've shut many things down on this campus. But I truly believe in sports and what it can do, not only for the student athlete, the male and the female, what they will do, and they will take those characteristics, they will take those final points that they will learn in sports and athletics, they will take it and utilize it for the rest of their life. So it's very, very, very important, sports. So I'm with you, parents. I'm with you, parents, and understand the importance of sports. Truly, 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 personally, sincerely, I'm with you. At the same point in time, I'm all about the safety of these children in this community, and the teachers and the administration and the staff and the families that they come home to. So I just wanted to share my viewpoints. I do apologize that I'm a little long-winded, but I just wanted to share my overall viewpoints so parents and the community will understand how much sports athletics means to me, sincerely and personally. But at the same point in time, that we just want the best. We want the very, very best for all these kids in our district. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Morton. Thank you.
Madam President, may I have a couple of minutes to share my thoughts?
Absolutely, Graylin. Thank you.
Thank you. So I want to echo everyone's appreciation and thanks to all of the community members who let their voices be heard, because it is important to hear your voices, and I'm glad that we have this platform for that. I just want to share a little bit of my personal perspective. I think Dana was probably alluding to me as one of the people she knows that is still struggling with long-term effects of COVID. And I can tell you from personal experience that COVID is real. I got sick from my husband who had COVID, and he was fine in less than a week. I, however, have had my first symptom for over 150 days now. Next Thursday will be 6 months since the onset of my first symptom. And my 73-year-old mother also came down with COVID. She did not have the typical few symptoms that CDC had first published. She had no respiratory issues. She never needed a ventilator, no oxygen. The nurse's aide came into the hospital and said her blood pressure was probably better than most of the other COVID patients on the floor. For her, COVID gave her a stroke in her frontal lobe, as well as renal failure. This is a woman who's never had any kidney problems in her life. And COVID took her away. She passed away on May 20th. And I'm sharing this because the risks are out there, and this new virus, there's a lot of unknowns with this new virus, and we're still learning a lot. So I'm part of 3 COVID survivor groups, support groups, and more and more, we're learning of children who are long haulers, just like me, from little 4-year-olds to 18, 19-year-olds. One story I just heard about is, I believe she's a college freshman, or maybe she's going into her sophomore year, but last year she was at the top of her conference in the 800 meter and cross country. And it's now been 8 weeks since she came down with COVID. She cannot walk across the room. So she is a healthy young woman. So COVID can hit anyone at any age, no matter if they have comorbidities or are pretty healthy. So I just wanted to stress that ultimately, the difficult decisions that have to be made for the greater good and the preservation of our community's health and safety are paramount. So I just want to share my personal experience. So thanks for giving me a couple of minutes.
Thank you, Graylin. Appreciate that.
Madam President, Michelle,
Yes.
if I could speak.
Absolutely. Thank you, Robin.
Okay. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Robin Zovich. I'm a first-year board member, and I have a son, Tommy, who is a senior at High School North. He is a student athlete. He plays, he wrestles, and he plays lacrosse. I also have a daughter that also does, she does soccer, she does lacrosse, and she also plays basketball. You know, I've seen most of the, we've seen all the emails, the people that have spoken and commented. I probably know the majority of you guys. Our kids have played sports together. You've coached my children. So I understand. I'm in the same boat as you guys. This is very, very upsetting, and it's very frustrating. But I will go forward saying that, over the summer, my children played travel lacrosse, and it's not true that there have been no cases or no instances. Personally, my daughter had a lacrosse tournament where a girl knowingly had COVID and played and jeopardized all the children that she played against. And then our whole travel program shut down. So there was a season lost and thousands of dollars. I've also known other people that have had seasons cut short because children have had COVID. Also, personally, too, I had a COVID scare. And luckily for those of you that haven't had that, it's actually very scary. My daughter was playing volleyball. One of her trainers texted us that he had COVID, and we're all rushing out now to get tested. And on top of that, too, now I'm trying to contact trace like all the people that I've seen and all the people that we've been in contact with. And that is very, very scary. So, the decisions that are made, I can't even begin to tell you, again, as board members, there's been so much, again, I'm new to this, but there's been so much going on these past couple months, and there's so much going on behind the scenes, and discussions are made and decisions are made that the public is not truly aware of, but we discuss all these things and we make decisions based on the greater good of the whole community. I remember when I first took this position, or when I was running for it, somebody told me, if you're going to be a good board member, you will sometimes have to vote on decisions or make decisions that will adversely affect your child. So, again, we're not voting on this, but what I will say that is, in the background, when you realize like how many children that we have in our district compared to other districts, the children that, want to do sports or want to do after school activities are probably higher than what other districts have just in their general population. It's just daunting. It's overwhelming. Yes, potentially we can make things work, but honestly, I'd like to see the schools get off first. I mean, that is the main priority for social mental health awareness. Yes, I would like my son, who is signed up for hybrid, to be able to go in for hybrid. And I'm going to assume that the majority of the parents whose children are athletes are probably signed up for hybrid too. So it's again, as Dr. Adderhold mentioned, we are one of the few districts, especially even too in the CVC, that is actually hybrid. So in terms of being an outlier in sports, well, we're an outlier in hybrid. And again, as I mentioned before, if you're a parent of an athlete, the odds are you want the school to be going hybrid. So I just want to, show my appreciation for all the hours that the administration, the board has worked. I mean, this is above and beyond what I even expected. And from other, senior board members, they said this is way above and beyond what has happened in the past. So I applaud them and I applaud their efforts. I also applaud Dr. Adderhold in that I think that he's very fair. And we had talked about, and he actually just mentioned it before, and after listening to comments, that he will potentially, consider opening like facilities. But again, it's all based off of, the health and wellness and safety of our community and our children going forward in these next couple of weeks. So I thank you for your time. I thank you for everybody's input, and I hope everybody stays safe and healthy.
Thank you so much. I thank all my board colleagues for their comments tonight. Does anyone else have anything to say before we move on to committee reports? Okay, so now it's back to business, and we'll start with the administration and facilities report. And for that, I will turn it over to Tony Flores.
Okay, after all of that, the committee reports seem very anticlimactic, but here we go. The Facilities Committee met on August 25th, last Tuesday. We began with Dr. Adderhold and Mr. Earl providing a briefing on the restart and reopening plan for the coming school year. Dr. Adderhold went all through that in his opening comments, so I'm not going to repeat them here. We then reviewed the 7 policies that are on tonight's board agenda, and the committee recommends that they be approved for their second reading and adopted. We then discussed the diversity equity position, and the district completed the screening and interview process for this position, and the recommended candidate is on our agenda for approval. We then reviewed the CP Pride agreement for the 2020-2021 school year, and again recommended for approval on tonight's agenda. We also looked at the 2020-2021 District Nursing Services Plan, which is also on tonight's agenda and up for approval, which we recommend. We discussed the special education review, and the consultant working for us has completed the virtual survey for the administrative staff, and the district officials will be meeting with the consultant to discuss the next steps for in-person interviews. Mr. Earl then briefed us on the referendum projects. The HVAC contractors continue with low impact work, and electricians are running wire for the various areas at High School North. Work at South is making good progress and will be moving to a second shift work soon. The steel was delivered for the HVAC work at Millstone River, and that work will begin in a few weeks. Security vestibule renovations are underway, waiting for specialty glass to be delivered. Fence posts for the new bus slot at North has been installed, and the fencing will follow. At Grover, construction is moving along well and is on target for completion at its scheduled date. Contractors at Community have mobilized, and construction's underway, and site work is in progress. Bathroom renovations at Dutch Neck are near completion, and the renovations are set to begin at Hvac in the next few weeks. And finally, the front parking lot at South is being paved and is scheduled for completion before the start of school. Finally, we had an update on the equity team, and they met in early August to discuss goals for this coming school year and plans for the administrative retreat. The team designed and offered a training program focused on racism in schools and anti-racism. The team also provided training for new staff during teacher orientation. Mr. Earl and Dr. Adderhall have met with the African American Parent Support Group in early August to continue the diversity, equity, and inclusivity work. Our next meeting will be on September 15th. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Tony. Now it'll be time to hear the report coming out of the Curriculum Committee, and for that, I will turn it over to Dana Krug. Dana, you're muted.
Hello again. Well, these will not be off the cuff. So the committee met, the Curriculum Committee met on August 10th and August 25th. First, we discussed the advanced placement or the AP test results for the district. Dr. Nathan shared a few slides with district AP results. This was the first year our students took the exams remotely. Our students performed similarly to when they took them in person. A presentation will be delivered about AP results and other testing at our next board meeting on September 22nd. The committee learned about the professional development days, which are this Thursday and Friday, for all teachers and staff. Dr. Nathan shared administrators have been working hard behind the scenes to get agendas and presentations ready for staff on Wednesday and Thursday. Opening days include learning around safety protocols, mandatory training, professional development, and community building with staff as we kick off the new school year. Oops, I realized I made a mistake. The actual dates for the professional development days are tomorrow and Thursday, not Friday. Next, we reviewed the summer professional development workshops offered and attended by teachers and staff. Dr. Nathan shared the numerous offerings and opportunities for staff to professionally develop throughout the month of August. These virtual sessions range from learning about Zoom, math workshop, literacy, to equity and inclusivity, and to building relationships and SEL in our hybrid and virtual classrooms. Staff attendance has been unprecedented. Just to give you a sense of what that is, number of workshops were offered, several with multiple sessions, so making this number even higher, was 81. And the number of staff members that participated was 737. And the total number of sign-ins for all workshops and all sessions was just about 3,000. Next, we discussed the new or revised curricula. These curricula were updated or revised for one or more of the following reasons. A new course, like for example, we have robotic engineering, which is a new course in the high school. Another reason would be revisions based on standards and standards changes that would come from the state, the New Jersey Department of Education. Or it's also a requirement to revisit curricula every 5 years. And then also we look at, the district looks at continuing efforts to develop curriculum and procure student materials with a lens towards equity and inclusion. So the following curricula were updated, and the committee recommends approval for chemistry, descriptive astronomy, AP environmental science, genetics, robotic engineering, digital communication, information literacy and technologies for grades 3, 4, and 5. The DLI, that's the dual language immersion for kindergarten Chinese language arts, and then the Spanish language arts in the same program. Chinese culture and literacy, grade 2 in the same program for Spanish. AP European history, calculus honors, career readiness, math 8, pre-calculus honors, LA language arts 1, 2, and 4, CP and honors for all 3 levels. Computer art and design 1, AP chemistry, AP biology, computer art and design 2. A formal presentation will be conducted at the next board meeting on September 22nd about curriculum. Revisions and creation are always part of an ongoing cycle of improvement that allows us to reflect on our courses, the most current content, thinking, standards, and skills for student achievement. The Curriculum Committee recommends approval for the West Windsor-Plainsboro Regional School District Board of Education's District Professional Development Plan and District Mentoring Plan Statement of Assurance for this coming school year, and that has to be submitted to the Department of Education pursuant to code. The Curriculum Committee also recommends approval for professional development for new administrators and for the 6 staff members to participate in the virtual P1 yoga for educator certification. And the Foundation for Education Administration, FEA, to provide mentoring, it's actually PL yoga, to provide mentoring management services for new administrators in the district at a cost of $850 each. The district also agrees to reimburse new administrators for the cost of their mentor at $1,500 for the first year and $1,000 for the second year. And 6 staff members to attend the virtual I think it's called Playa Yoga Educator Certification Training, and that's not to exceed $300. And the committee also recommends the approval of district-wide licensing of Pear Deck Premium Access, which allows teachers and students to use technology to connect, collaborate, create, learn, and build skill sets in virtual and hybrid learning environments from September 1st of today, actually, through August 31st of next year at a cost not to exceed $21,000. Our next meeting will be Monday, September 14th. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Does anybody have any questions regarding the Curriculum Committee? All right, so now we'll get the report coming out of the Finance Committee, and for that I will turn it over to Louisa Ho.
Just remembered she has to unmute herself. Okay. The committee met on August 10th. We met virtually to review and discuss the school reopening plan. At that point, Dr. Adderhold, they were working on scheduling for the middle school level primarily, and we were starting to see the pattern of parents asking to change their selection, most wanting to move from hybrid to the remote. Staff had notified us if there needed accommodations due to the pandemic. At that time, about 27% of the staff have requested accommodation, and that's also been changing. Going over the minutes makes you realize how fast things have changed in the last month. The district is planning to produce a series of videos explaining some aspects of how the schools will operate. However, there will be some changes that will develop shortly before school opens, and we will not have the time to produce those videos. Bus transportation has had to wait until school schedules were created, which has made that process more complicated. There is a cap of 11 students per bus, which is a huge challenge for the district. We talked about the letter going out stating that Hvac will not open, that those students will be going to school at Town Center. And for special education, certain programs will be providing in-person services daily. Due to remote learning, the district is now K-12 with one-to-one devices, and that will make a challenge for us when those devices need to replace down the road. Back at that time, which was August 10th, the Department of Health had not provided medical guidance on the reopening of schools. The DOE had not provided guidance on state aid, and the state was just beginning to review the plans of districts that had submitted plans for all virtual instruction. A lot has happened since August 10th. There's a lot of construction going on in the district, and I think Tony has covered most of that, so I am not going to go into detail on that. One thing that we talked about at the committee meeting was that the district was researching bipolar air ionizer technology for HVAC systems. The technology changes the polarity of the virus ions traveling through the air system. There have been various studies out there corroborating the effectiveness of this technology. Our energy savings company, Snyder Electric, through a change order in the ESIP program, can obtain and install these bipolar air ionizers in all of the district's HVAC systems, and they would be able to install them quickly. This is going to cost us $1,043,000, and it can be done through the ESIP as part of through our capital reserve funding. The capital reserve fund has a $1 million line in it annually for energy savings improvements projects, and we are going to be voting on that tonight, I believe. We also talked about potential shortcuts in school aid. The committee also met on August 24th and reviewed the agenda items for today's meeting, including the monthly financial reports. On the agenda is a required resolution summarizing the reductions in the fiscal 2021 budget required to balance the budget due to the reduction in state aid announced back in May. These changes have been discussed previously in committee and with the entire board. There are also motions to approve Penn Medicine to provide drug and alcohol screening for bus drivers in accordance with the Department of Transportation, the purchase of additional iPads for elementary students, acceptance of a $72,000 donation from the Princeton Theological Seminary, and registration for the annual New Jersey School Boards Association workshop, which will be virtual this year. Staff shared the preliminary status of the 2019-20 end of year closeout and that the audit is moving about nicely. We talked about the referendum construction and summer projects as well as ESIP projects, and I think Tony covered most of that. Staff provided updates on busing for the hybrid reopening plan. We also talked about food service. The state requires that lunch be available for purchase by all students, even when the students are learning remotely, so we had a plan for that. And then I believe just today, they changed the rules, so I think we will have a new plan for that shortly. I lost my place. Since the Sodexo staff will not be handling lunches during school hours, we will be using 10 of their staff, 1 per building, to work in the school during the day to assist the nurses. They will also assist in distributing PPE prior to the opening of the school. Dr. Adderhold briefed us on the school reopening plan, and David has given us a more up-to-date briefing on that today. So that about covers it. And our next meeting is Tuesday, September 15th.
Thank you, Louisa. Does anybody have any questions for the curriculum committee?
Finance.
I'm sorry, for the finance committee.
Yeah, I'd like to just
Or
add
curriculum.
something quickly there.
What, Isaac?
I'd like to add a little bit of something to the finance agenda, or to the finance minutes. Around the upgrade to the HVAC system, it's a large expenditure. But I do think that given that we are required to open with in-person instruction, this is an upgrade that we absolutely have to make for the safety of our students and our staff. I will admit I have a lot of sticker shock at this, and especially during a time when we have so much other construction needs to meet with that capital reserve funds. But I don't see any way around that. If we're going to have staff and students, people within our schools, I think this is one of those upgrades that we'll just need to we'll need to pay for it. And thankfully, we've done a lot of planning with our capital reserve so that we can take this. We do have the funding allocated really for this purpose. These sort of unanticipated purchases. So I am supportive of this, but just another sign of the times that we're in. Thanks, Michelle.
Actually, Isaac, I think to tag on to what you just said, I think it's important to know that the bipolar ionizers that's on the agenda for approval tonight, which will positively improve the air quality in our buildings, will be something that will improve the air quality of our buildings beyond our pandemic. I just think that we certainly need it now, but I think it's easy to support, at least for me, improving air quality down the road for everyone who's in our buildings. So,
Michelle, if I just add on to that, just since we're going to dive a little deeper on the ionizers, as part of our ESIP and as part of our referendum project, there are HVAC upgrades going on at High School South, High School North, Millstone River, Hvac Elementary School, and Dutch Neck. And then the bipolar ionizers are an additional component that go either on an independent unit, like a unit ventilator, or they go into an HVAC air duct, depending on the system within each building. So there's just about 900 plus units that need some kind of addition added on, either as an independent or as part of a larger chain system, depending on the systems within the school. So there's the sticker price of being $1 million, I think it's $1,043,000. Each independent unit is just around $1,000, just a little bit over $1,000, and there's some additional fees and whatnot with application. So that's what gets you close to the $1 million. But when you start thinking about the size of the district and number of units that there is, that the install is actually a relatively quick install. We'll be prioritizing classrooms that have primary utilization. When you start thinking of your elementary schools, we are only using a fraction of our elementary schools, 20 to 30 rooms, instead of some of the larger spaces that might have been 40 or 50. Millstone might be around 40 something rooms where we would have had around 70 rooms. So we're using a fraction of the rooms to the number of students. Remember, we have to socially distance at 12 in a room. So while we do have less students on, we are using still a number of footprints because of the less kids per classroom. And then high school, we're pretty much using all the spaces. So there are a lot of units that need to be upgraded. All the rooms will be upgraded, but we'll prioritize those that have staff in them to begin with. And the install on those should take about 3 weeks when they arrive on site within about a week from now. So we should have them completed, hopefully by the end of September, early October. Should be a full-scale. That does not mean our systems aren't safe without them. It just means it'll be an enhanced safety measure that the district's taking.
thank you for the information. Thank you. All right, I think we can now move on to the consent agenda, which is the voting portion of our agenda. We begin with administration items 1 to 16, plus the addendum, the one addendum for nursing services. Can I please get a motion on those items, 1 to 16, plus the addendum? Tony and Robin. Are there any questions or comments about the administration items? Thank you, Chris.
Okay, we'll start with Mr. Chang.
Yes.
And Mr. Flores.
Yes.
Ms. Ho.
Yes.
Ms. Krug.
Yes.
Ms. McCune.
Yes.
Mr. Whitfield.
Yes.
Ms. Zovich.
Yes.
Ms. Juliana.
Yes.
Ms. Keish.
Yes. Could I please get a motion on the curriculum items 1 through 4? Dana and Graylin. Are there any questions or comments about the curriculum items? Thank you, Chris.
Okay, we'll start with Mr. Flores.
Yes.
Ms. Ho.
Yes.
Ms. Krug.
Yes.
Ms. McCune.
Yes.
Mr. Whitfield.
Yes.
Ms. Zovich.
Yes.
Mr. Chang.
Yes.
Ms. Juliana.
Yes.
And Ms. Keish.
Yes.
Okay.
Can I please get a motion on finance items 1 to 14, plus the addendum co-op purchase? Louisa and Isaac. Are there any questions or comments about the finance items? Thank you, Chris.
Okay, we'll start with Ms. Ho,
Yes.
Ms. Krug,
Yes.
Ms. McCune,
Yes.
Mr. Whitfield,
Yes.
Ms. Zovich,
Yes.
Mr. Chang,
Yes.
Mr. Flores,
Yes.
Ms. Juliana,
Yes.
Ms. Case.
Yes. Could I please get a motion on the personnel items 1 and 2, plus the personnel addendum and the other addendum, which is the sidebar agreement with the WWPEA? Can I get a motion on that, please? Martin and Rachel. Are there any questions on the personnel items? Thank you, Chris.
Okay, we'll start with Ms. Krug.
Yes.
And then, sorry, and then Ms. Yeah, geez, and next is Ms. McCune.
Yes.
Sorry, Mr. Whitfield,
Yes.
Ms. Zovich,
Yes.
Mr. Chang,
Yes.
Mr. Flores,
Yes.
Ms. Ho,
Yes.
Ms. Juliana,
Yes.
and Ms. Case.
Yes.
Okay.
Among the items that we just voted on were 2 retirements that I'd like to acknowledge. Ruth Warren, a cafeteria aide at Dutch Neck, is retiring after 27 years with the district, which means she definitely took care of my kids. So thank you. And Penny Fisher, the supervisor of language arts grades K through 5, is retiring after 10.5 years with the district. And I was with Penny on her first day in WWP when she came as the assistant principal at Village, and I was the PTA president. So I want to thank both of these people for their hard work, dedication, not just to my own children, but to everyone in the community. And I wish them all the best and a safe and healthy retirement. Could I please get a motion to approve the board minutes, for, both the general meeting and the closed session that we had on July 28th? Robin and Tony, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed or abstentions? Do we have any liaison reports? Yes, we do, because I have one.
Yes. And I have to do a demonstration.
Okay, I am the liaison to the district's PTAs, and I am here to say that we are WWP strong. The 10 school district PTA, PTSAs, the West Windsor-Plainsboro Education Association, the Special Ed PTSA, and the African American Parent Support Group have partnered together and have opened a WWP Strong Unity store. So here, among other things, I just want everyone in the community to know that the store is open and you can purchase your spirit wear. Graylin is showing it off. You need to order, please. The store will be open through September 14th. Merchandise will be shipped directly to you in mid-October. And there is a district spirit day planned for November 16th. You can order, there's links to order from every social media that you can imagine, and it's WWP Strong. And I believe that the link to the store, the WWP Strong Unity store, will also be included in the district newsletters that will go out to parents. Parents did get an email last week about it, but if you want to show your WWP pride with our WWP Strong shirts, please go ahead and make your order by September 14th. Are there any other liaison reports? Is there any new business? That brings us to the second opportunity for public comment. The board invites thoughts and reactions on agenda items and items of concern from members of our community who have submitted written comments on the form that was open and available on the district-wide website up until the start of this second opportunity for public comment. All submissions containing all required fields completed will be viewed during the meeting and included as public comment in the official minutes. Each comment may be directed to the presiding officer, not individual members of the board, and will be read by the board attorney for 3 minutes in accordance with board policy 0167. If the comment extends beyond those 3 minutes, the full comment will be submitted and available as part of the meeting's public record. This public comment period shall be limited to 15 minutes. So thank you once again, Dr. Hatterhold, for sharing the screen, and Mr. Toscano for reading the comments.
Our first comment is from Alex Paltson, 524 Village Road West, Princeton Junction. Sports are an essential part of the high school experience and mean more to the fall athletes whose season has been canceled. The NJSA has ruled that they will have a fall sports season, and Governor Murphy approved club sports to resume playing as of July 1st. These sports have been and can be played in a safe and successful environment for practices and games, with the use of masks and attention to safety measures. Having fall sports seasons poses no major risk. Let the seniors that have that sense of normalcy that they've been cheated out of. Other schools in the area who are having fall athletics, for the most part, have implemented all virtual learning. This ensures complete safety to those students and their families, along with providing options for fall athletes. Studies show that COVID-19 is significantly more viral in indoor settings. One way to combat this is the use of outdoor circulation or complete outdoor interaction. Going all virtual also guarantee better oversight for practices and games. The board must consider the social and the emotional, social, and physical benefits of having fall sports. Student athletes are your leaders in class, in the hallways, and of course on the field. They set examples for younger classes and represent WP in the community. They're more than just athletes. They are well-rounded, multifaceted people. Without sports, wouldn't be where they are today. Not only is this season important for those who will be graduating this year, but it's crucial for WWP's future leader. The community understands that this decision is not taken lightly and is more complicated than making the decision. But with proper communication between the school board, coaches, and student athletes, we can safely implement a fall season, whether that be intramural or letting them use the school facilities as practices. Is it inevitable there will be another wave of COVID in the fall and winter? What does it say that winter sports will be canceled or spring? We as a school district, needs to start asking these questions and coming up with answers that protect and provide our students with a successful year. I realized about halfway through that, I think that might have been a repeat of a first comment, but I didn't want to take the chance, so I just kept going. The next comment is from Avidid Iyer, 11 Fairway Drive, West Windsor. Is there any hope for soccer in January? Next comment is from Andy Bay, 7201 Rue Terrace, Plainsboro. When is there going to be any kind of communication between the school board and the student athletes? I can't believe there was none of that making the decision for fall season. Please take a look at other districts. WDP shows lack of attention and care for athletes. I'm proud to have great peers and amazing educators. I am disappointed in the WWE school district. Dr. Adderhold, the new athletic director, needs to take responsibility for the mistakes they've made. I'm asking the athletic director to have an open conversation with the athletes regarding this issue. Respectfully, Andy Bay. Again, I believe that one was in the first session as well. Next one is from Luke Kiernan. If we can go to school with over 600 per day, why can't we play 11 versus 11? Again, that was in the first session. John Kiernan, email address West Windsor. We can go to school with 500 per day. Why can't we go to school, play an 11-11 soccer game? Hashtag let us play. Next comment is from Joshua Chiquette, 2 Shelley Court, West Windsor. Shouldn't families have the choice to join fall sports? If they don't feel comfortable, they don't have to participate. Next comment is from Eddie Hammerly, 533 Village Road West. How are we able to go back to school with 400 plus kids, but not a soccer on a massive field? Each family should be allowed to have the decision if they want to play or not. I don't know how you can claim you're doing for the safety of the kids, but still have a hybrid school setup. Not to mention 95% of other schools have sports on, and COVID has been extremely in New Jersey for a while now. Please rethink your decision. Thank you. Hashtag let them play. Next comment is from Emma Gartenberg, 4 Ryder Place, Princeton Junction. First, I would like to thank Dr. Adderhold and the board for what we all recognize an unprecedented time. As a senior and a captain of the South girls soccer team, I have 2 comments. Students are wondering why Dr. Adderhold made the decision early in August instead of waiting to make his final decision on fall sports, and why, at a minimum, can't we compromise to play intra-district athletics just north of the South? No bus, our own equipment, and safety protocols according to the district. We'd appreciate the use of our soccer field with supervision from our coaches. Thank you for hearing us this evening. I appreciate your consideration. Sincerely, Emma Gartenberg. Next comment is from Vivian Scavo, 3 Farmington Court, Princeton Junction. Will you please let us know what hybrid enrolled students will be doing when, if their teacher is absent or has been granted an exception to work remotely? In the past, students at North reported to, UDH, no sub. How will this be handled now? Are there subs? Will students be sitting in the classroom with the teacher working remotely? A response now would be greatly appreciated. The next comment is from Luke Kiernan, 2 Benjamin Court, West Windsor. The board does not run the schools, but is in charge of making sure they are well run. You do not speak for the community, as is blatantly obvious by these comments, with literally not one person siding with the board's point of view. Hashtag let us play. Next comment is from Kashif Anwar, 52 Woodland Drive, Plainsboro. I want to go the other way and lend support to our student superintendent and the entire board. I find it extraordinary that even when we were able to pull a hybrid academic model, I find it extraordinary that we even will be able to pull off a hybrid academic model in these times. And in uncertain political and financial times, I commend everyone for getting the academic aspect for our children, which is the primary person of our education system. The curriculum still includes physical education, emphasis on this to achieve our whole child mantra. It's far past time to expect our school systems to subsidize athletic development for professional leagues, especially in these extraordinary uncertain times. Tough choices need to be made, and to expect our school system to undertake sports competition in these dangerous times via the dereliction of duty for the Board of Education. Next comment is from John Kiernan, email address West Windsor. How do you represent the community if you don't listen to the community? Sports are more than just some extracurricular activity; they're a way of life for some of us. We're WWP athletes. Sports have been a way to express ourselves, both who we are. Sports have been a central part of not only my life, but many others as well, and you're simply okay with taking that away. Let us play. Next comment is from Pamela Grund, 188 Conover Road, West Windsor. Just so we're clear, you're saying that all the surrounding districts, the NJSAA and the governor, are putting kids at risk. Next comment is from Alex Paddleson, 524 Village Road, Princeton Junction. Frankly, I think it's ridiculous that the board did not vote on this decision. We understand that for the wellness and safety of the students, but we should at least be allowed to use the facilities. How can you care about the students if you only care about students? If you only care about students, to care about them as people who live in WVP, you must care about them as athletes as well. With or without your approval, we will play and support each other as a community. We will follow your guidelines, but don't expect me to show spirit for this district. The next comment is from Bruce Samastrelli, 346 Clarkson Road, Princeton Junction. Thank you to the Board of Education members and all the community members who have shared their personal thought tonight. These are difficult times for all of us. We are in this together. I would like to take a moment to share a community unity activity that is happening. Check out the hashtag WWP Strong Facebook Unity Store selling Unity Wear. This is co-sponsored activity of the WWP School PTA, the West Windsor-Plainsboro Education Association of Teachers, WWPEA, Special Education, PTSA, the SEPTSA, and the African American Support Group, the AAPSG, hashtag WWP Strong.
Excuse me, Mark, you skipped one message that you need to go back to, please.
Oh, I'm so sorry when the screen jumped. I'm sorry. The one I missed was Veronica Mino, 41 Galston Drive. When the academic calendar for 2021 was approved, it was 2019, so many things have happened after it was approved that I want to ask that the calendar will stay as it is, or will there be any updating? Also, we are scheduled to open on September 8th. Is there any chance to have the opening school delayed as Princeton has done? Thank you, Ms. Case. I just didn't mean to jump over that. And that appears to be the last comments.
Okay, thank you. So that will close our second opportunity for public comment. Dr. Radahold, do you have anything that you'd like to add at this point?
If I could, Ms. Case, I just want to touch base on 2 of the comments. Ms. Mino's comment regarding the academic calendar. There is no change at this time to the academic calendar. We plan to proceed with, well, you have staff coming in again tomorrow and Thursday, and then students would report on the 8th if you're in the hybrid 1 week. And then we would proceed from there. The only change that has to come about is based on the governor's executive order 177, which was released approximately 2 weeks ago. Executive order 177 says that schools must be closed unilaterally on election day to make way for voting to take place in schools. That's November 3rd. So we will have to move all students to virtual learning on that particular day. We're currently in discussion with both townships. Mr. Earl met with Plainsboro Township clerk and staff today over at High School North to look at that as a testing facility. Unfortunately, the way the order is written, all schools must be closed, not just schools that are being utilized. So while you could potentially bring K-5 students in on that day, like theoretically bring them in and then just move the high school, middle school to virtual, or just them high school to virtual, the order does not allow that or contemplate that. The order doesn't contemplate the deep cleaning of schools that are needed after the schools are used for the election either. So we're currently seeking guidance around what this looks like. So if that is to happen, we may also need to think about what it looks like on the Wednesday, the 4th. The 5th and 6th of that week is still closed for teachers convention by statute. So we have a 3-day week that week, which would look like right now in Monday, Wednesday, closed Tuesday to virtual instruction. That is the only change that will be forthcoming, again, driven by an executive order, but we are seeking guidance and clarification regarding what it looks like on November 4th. So that is one thing I want to address, so thank you for the question. Second thing is just with respect to the absence of staff. If we do have a staff member that calls out for any particular reason, just as in the past, they may be out for a sick day, a personal day, or other matter, there still will be dining hall facilities potentially at North, Commons 1 at South, and other spaces utilized through those facilities, and the students will get to know those facilities when they come in. It's also quite possible that a staff member is granted a virtual assignment even though the students are in person. Remember, the teachers are teaching students in a virtual and hybrid model at the same time at the middle school and the high school level. So you will have teachers that may be virtual with the student is in person. Now with a 4-period class, it's very possible that they would have several teachers on site, and then one teacher or 2 teachers, depending on schedule, depending on request, could potentially be virtual for a day or for their assignment. So we will have certain classes assigned to certain locations so that students have set seats and proctors. We are working with our substitutes to bring them in for 20-day assignments at a time so that we're cohorting and potting our substitutes to specific buildings to make sure that we have a stable substitute force to support the buildings in their opening. And again, we're trying to give consistent work to the substitutes in order to make sure that we have proper coverage. We also are working with our service association to also use some of our instructional assistants and other staff in additional ways to provide support for things like potentially even nurses' offices, as now we've gone from 1 nurse's office in every school to 3 nurses' offices in every school, because we may need an isolation room, we may need a treatment room, and we may need a well room. And so there's different reasons that students may need, and we need to preserve the nurse's office and the sanctity of the nurse's office to make sure that students that need medication, medical treatment, diabetes, we also have to identify a nebulizer or asthma treatment room as a 4th location. So the medical guidelines are high as we enter the school year to keep everyone safe, and it's going to require some additional staff to support us. So thank you for the 2 questions.
Thank you, Dr. Addo, for the clarification.
Ms. Case, if you don't mind, I just want to acknowledge actually 2 staff hires tonight because I would have typically done that and I missed that at the beginning. This evening, the board approved a new assistant principal at Community Middle School. So I just would be remiss if I just didn't acknowledge that this evening, Sukhpreet or Sonia Singh was appointed as the new assistant principal at Community Middle School. Sonia is currently the assistant principal at Beck Middle School in Cherry Hill. Prior to serving as assistant principal at the middle school level, she was a biology teacher at Cherry Hill East for 8 years. And before that, she was out in Illinois and she had a family move to New Jersey. So she's been at Cherry Hill for the past 10 school years, beginning of her 11th. She brings a wealth of administrative experience and will be a welcome addition to our CMS faculty and our administrative team. We look forward to working with Ms. Singh in the weeks and months to come. I'm sure she'll be with us sometime in early November. Also this evening, the board awarded and appointed the Diversity, Equity, Inclusivity Coordinator. This is a position that we have worked to secure grant funding for. We're pleased that Anthony Jones was awarded and appointed this evening in the position of Diversity, Equity, Inclusivity Coordinator. Mr. Jones has a BA in English and a master's in public administration from Rutgers University. He serves as the director of the college prep programs. He's been a higher ed liaison. He's been a dean and assistant dean of New Jersey Seeds program. He has been an academic counselor at Columbia University and an admissions reader at Princeton University. He's direct experience in data analysis, college planning, professional development, working with counseling departments. He has extensive work working with students, parents, guidance counselors, or counselors, school counselors, teachers, principals, working to increase the number of underrepresented students in matriculating to college. We're thrilled to have both Ms. Singh and Mr. Jones join us to West Windsor-Plainsboro. Look forward to when they're able to officially start. So I just want to make sure we acknowledge those two individuals this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Adderhold. So we're at the end of our meeting. So can I please get a motion to adjourn? Isaac and Louisa, all those in favor say aye.
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 And I hope everybody has a happy, safe, healthy start to the school year and stays that way. And I wish everybody all the best for next Tuesday, our first day of school. So take care, everybody. Thanks for coming out. And thank you for doing what we have to do to take care of each other. Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.